This episode is brought to you by Microsoft Azure. Turn your ideas into reality with an Azure free account. Get everything you need to develop apps across cloud and hybrid environments, scale workloads, create cloud-connected mobile experiences, and so much more. Discover what you can create with popular services free for 12 months. Learn more at azure.com. That's AZURE.com. And sign up for a free account to start building in the cloud today.
Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AI Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our Quick Publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AI Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AI Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and welcome to another episode of Media Matters for Anfield Index. Ladies and gents, if you haven't been firing Mo Salah arrows at people today or bouncing around your living room to the Luis Diaz song or work, wherever it may be, what have you been doing with your life? Because we know the score from yesterday. We know how good it was. We have got so much to talk about. We've got contracts on his slot, Champions League draws, and many other things. And I'm delighted to welcome back the international jet-setting patch journalist that is David Lynch. David, how are we?
Yeah, good. Just literally back from Oslo about 20 minutes ago. So yeah, no, good to be back. But it was a great trip, and to watch that game with the supporters club out there was a real treat, because it was pretty straightforward win, which you don't tend, well, you do tend to get sometimes in more recent years. But it's always a pleasure to see that.
Yeah, no doubts about it, especially as to what happened last year a couple of times there. So we've got to enjoy every moment. I mean, there is so much to unpack with this one, David. Oh, overall, I'll throw it open straight away. Overall thoughts on the performance?
Very, very good. Very dominant. Totally deserved the ease with which he won. I mean, some of those underlying statistics actually probably don't reflect it in terms of, you look at the XG at the end of it. And I thought that people look at that and say, well, that shows you why XG is not a good measure. But it doesn't really. It just shows you that when you look at XG, you've got to apply further knowledge to it and context. And the context is that Liverpool, after they went 3-0 up, just kind of took the foot off the gas a little bit, and United kind of rallied back and tried to get a consolation of some form. So then started to add to their XG total. But I think anybody who watched the games knows that Liverpool were just utterly dominant, really. It was just complete control, very, very comfortable, deservedly 3-0 up at the point he went. And then, at that point, you probably do lose a little bit of focus, because it's very easy, and United are battling to get back in it. But it was just cool, calm, collected, controlled, and to go there at Old Trafford when you know what happened there last season twice, that sort of performance is just hugely encouraging, particularly coming under a new manager. So yeah, over the moon with the performance. Really, it was just as good as you would hope for at Old Trafford.
Yeah, no two ways about it. And a perfect start continues for Arne Slot. And I know where you're going to go with this. Well, I'm saying that, but I could take a good guess. Man of the match for this one?
Well, to be honest, I thought there was a lot of contenders. I mean, I think, you get Diaz with the 2 goals, and obviously he's up there. Mo Salah, 2 assists, a goal. He's so dominant. But I keep coming back to Ryan Gravenberch and how he's performing it. And I think because it's kind of a nice, pleasant surprise that we're all getting from him, I always just think it's worthy of note. I mean, it's really, I'm thinking about trying to single someone out for man of the match here, but they were just all so good across the pitch, and you have to be to win that comfortably at Old Trafford, regardless of what form United are in. I would maybe pick out Gravenberch. I suppose in the agenda we're going to talk about him later. So let's maybe just talk about him now, because I just think I'm just loving what I'm seeing from him. I think, there's so much negativity around the idea he was going to be used at the 6 when that became apparent. But he's just been almost flawless, really. And so many moments in that game that underlined it. I mean, his statistics from the game are fantastic. Something like 6 interceptions, 4 recoveries. wins 7 out of 10 duels, 2 out of 2 tackles. And so all the dirty stuff that you want from your number 6, but his use of the ball was fantastic as well. And I think, you look at the disallowed goal and then the goal, his influence on that. So the touch he takes with the ball in a deep area under pressure in the build up to the goal that gets disallowed, just absolutely brilliant piece of football and shows why he's so fit for that role. And then again, the opening goal that actually counted. It's a shocking pass from Casemiro, but it's made to look shocking because Gravenberch's on his bike, ready to run. He sees where the pass is going, intercepts it. So that anticipation you want from your number 6, absolutely perfect. And then use of the ball in an incisive way from a deep area. That's exactly what Liverpool want in that position, and he did it time and time again in the game. And as I say, I want to talk about it a lot because nobody expected this from him, I would say, except Arne Slot, and he's just been brilliant. And yesterday, Gary Neville said, didn't he, about Liverpool's midfield, that he felt United had a little bit more coming into this season. What a joke. Ridiculous, really. And Gravenberch kind of summed that up. Absolutely dominant in that number 6 position, and I'm loving it from him because silencing some of the doubters around him and just playing brilliantly at the moment, and as crucial as anyone to Liverpool's start, but also particularly how they performed yesterday and why they controlled the game as they did.
Yeah, that midfield was a key part of it. I was going to ask, what did you make? Because it was strange the way, or maybe strange is the wrong word, but McAllister and Gravenberch almost alternated between the 6. Like you said, quite often, Gravenberch's best work did the dirty stuff well, but it was that interception driving forward, as we know, like you say, the disallowed first, the opening goal. Do you think that almost, because I know we've always looked to Liverpool and thought traditional 6, Fabinho, we've got to get one, but Slot almost seems to interchange the two quite nicely at the moment.
Yeah, so I think average positions, McAllister sort of ended up deeper over the 90 minutes as a whole, but I think that speaks to the fact that Gravenberch was given a little bit of license to roam, but a lot of what he was doing in a deep midfield position, a lot of that screening and winning the ball, but he was also given license to press and be aggressive in that sense, but also when he got it, asked to drive with it, which is his strength in comparison to McAllister. Yeah. McAllister's more of a passer, isn't he, and incisive in that way. Gravenberch, he's really good driving forward with the ball at his feet and dribbling and working space to then lay it off, as we saw around the opening goal and the one that got disallowed. And so it's an interesting dynamic. He's not going to be playing as a pure out-and-out 6 sitting in front of the back 4. Yeah. And that's not what Arne Slot wants. He wants his players to be dynamic, and that relationship between the two is building really nicely, one tucking in when the other's going. And that was really good to see it. But I still think it's, even though he wasn't playing as almost a pure 6 yesterday, he's still doing all the things that you want from a number 6, and that holding. It's just because there's two of them, they're kind of picking up each other's slack from time to time and really work each other. And love that relationship between them and just love Gravenberch's performance as a whole.
Yeah, they were both so good physically. Especially enjoyed McAllister just absolutely bullying Kobe Mainoo off the ball, just get off the way, and the third goes in. So much to like for Graven. This is an interesting one. So much to like from Luis Diaz. If we think back to last season, we talked about it so many times, especially away from home, hard-working, always going to do the hard yards, help defensively. The big question mark's always been against the composure at the wrong minutes, almost, hasn't it, like the City miss. But yesterday, calm and clinical at the right times, wasn't he?
Two unbelievable finishes, those, by the way. I mean, the header with Szoboszlai in front of him, that is so difficult. You just plant it in the top corner, and then the second one as well, absolutely brilliant, sweeping it into the corner. And, you get a little bit concerned. I hope he's not just on a hot streak. I hope this is here to stay. But if it is here to stay, and this is the end product he can produce across the season, and he can add 5 goals to his tally, then what's his weakness? Because, he gives you so much against the ball that he works his socks off. Brilliant dribbler, drags Liverpool up the pitch from difficult moments, and he really works well with his fullback and works well with coming inside as well. He played almost in a kind of number 10 role at times yesterday, and that's kind of where Liverpool are trying to get him. And I really like him there because I think we've spoken before that he's kind of not got really a striker's profile. He's a little bit more midfielder-ish. And so getting him in those number 10 positions actually really works for him because that really suits what he offers. But like I say, if this end product is added consistently, I don't expect Salah numbers, but to get a little bit closer to that, then he's right up there as an unbelievable top class option in that position. So really excited about that. We'll have to see how that progresses and whether he keeps it up. But those two finishes yesterday is as good as anything you'll see. So really do hope he can keep that up, and then Liverpool, as well as having so many good options in the attacking positions, to get a little bit more from the ones you already have is a really exciting prospect, because they're already very good. And yeah, really big step forward for him yesterday. I thought he was magnificent, and he also did quite well actually, because he was kind of had a bit of a disastrous first 15 minutes, to be honest. So to just get that out of his system and kind of kick on and play as well as he did, I think testament to his sort of strength of character as well.
Yeah, Slot wasn't afraid to name check him afterwards as well about giving the ball away and things to improve there. But it's interesting, like you said, do you think when people looked at Diaz, I think when Slot came in, you thought, where's he going to fit in this system a little bit? Because left to his own devices, he can just do, those random dribbles to nothing and it peters out type of thing. But this sort of left wing hybrid number 10, he does seem to be a position where, it's early days and it's hard to say, but out of everyone in the squad, he does seem the man for that right now, doesn't he?
Yeah, and it's interesting as well, because Slot has always spoken, hasn't he, in terms of how you're going to find individual improvement out of your players is by improving the collective, giving them a tactical framework that brings out their strengths and maybe masks their weaknesses a little bit. And clearly Diaz is absolutely benefiting from that. Again, he's not the only one who seems to be performing better even than they were at the back end of last season. He's one of a few, but he's being given a role that he's very, very comfortable in, and that, like I say, shows his strengths and maybe doesn't show his weaknesses as much. And yeah, he's playing really, really well at the moment. And that's I think Liverpool would have been open to selling him if the big money had come in for him this summer, and they would have been open to moving for Anthony Gordon. There's no doubt about that. But they weren't kicking him out the door either, and because they know there's quality there, and Slot clearly very happy to work with him, and he's got a really good plan for him, and it's absolutely working to a T at the moment.
Yeah, interesting. He talked as well about getting Diaz one-on-one quite often, and he also talked about getting Mo Salah one-on-one. That was a big part of the plan, and Mo Salah, we'll do almost all on the pitch, then we'll talk off the pitch in the comments. So on the pitch, sensational, wasn't
he? Yeah, it's just ridiculous. Manchester United fans just absolutely hate his guts, because he, as well as turning up against everyone else, he particularly seems to enjoy putting them to the sword, and just brilliant again. Again, it's another one who he seems to be really thriving in what he's being asked to do. He is hugging that touchline a lot, and we saw it under Jurgen, and sometimes he's getting a bit criticised for how he was using him there, but it seems to work. It's all about picking his moments, when to stretch their formation and go wide, when to be inside the box and there for the finish, which we always know he can produce. And it's adding real sort of, and it's not just a Slot thing, as I say, it's a Jurgen thing as well, that it was adding a little bit of sort of variation to his game and how he was deployed. And, he's kind of picked up where he left off really in terms of just putting up those incredible numbers. And yeah, another magnificent performance from him again yesterday. And he's just, running out of superlatives, really. Really is. Where's he up to now in the sort of top 10 Premier League goal scorers of all time? He's just going to go down as an absolute great, isn't he? And another performance that kind of underlined that yesterday.
Crazy to think as well, since 2021, he's the 5th highest scorer at Old Trafford as well, which says, he doesn't, insane in that regard. And speaking of things that send people insane, as well as maybe being the best player in the Premier League, he might be the best agent in the Premier League, because obviously he gets asked about his contract afterwards, doesn't he? Well, actually, let me rephrase that. He was asked about it, and he brought up the contract, didn't he? That it might be my last season. The club haven't approached me. He brought that to the table. Then it was clarified a bit more by Sky that, the club haven't actually spoken to me directly about anything, which, I'll be honest, I was a bit I wouldn't say dumbstruck, but surprised, and it caused a lot of furore. And then the Mel Reddy tweet goes out, doesn't it? That as she tweets, my understanding is that Salah's very happy to stay. And obviously everything's ablaze then. What did you make of kind of the comments, the way you did it, the tweet and everything around that at the moment?
I know there was kind of a lot of, shock and maybe a little bit of disappointment or fear that this means Mohamed Salah is going to go. But my take on it may be slightly different in that I actually don't think this is bad news for Liverpool. Has he shown his hand a little bit there? He's shown I want to stay. It's kind of the starting point in negotiations, and he's basically put it back on Richard Hughes now and said, okay, the ball's in your court. come to me, let's try and sort this out. So I don't think that Richard Hughes and Michael Edwards will be too disappointed about that. It's something, we kind of maybe weakened his position a little bit. It helped us in terms of finding a compromise, because that's what's got to happen here. I don't think Liverpool are going to be over the moon to be handing out another 3 years at 350 grand a week. It's, that is a big contract for someone who, at some point, as good as he is going to decline. It's going to happen at some point. Does it open open things up a little bit for Liverpool to get a 2-year contract over the line, and Mo being a bit more accepting of that, because he's still got this full season. So we're talking 3 years time to get to the end of that. So 2 years there, gets the end of the season, another 2 years after that. Is that compromise? Are we a little bit closer to that now that Salah has said that and has showed his willingness to stay? As I say, I don't think Liverpool think that's too disastrous, really. He's come out and said that. But also, he does put the ball back in Richard Hughes' court. Now the action probably does have to come from their side, and they have to step things up, because it's not too long till January, and you really could do with wrapping it up before then. So, there's time, but they probably do have to start now and start those initial talks and see where things are up to and what Mo actually wants and whether they can get it done. And I think everyone will hope that they can sort this out, because I think, even if you do see those signs of decline in the next couple of years or so, surely he's still going to be scoring goals at a fairly decent level and still being worth having around as a really experienced, brilliant option, a Liverpool legend. He's a great example to the young players around the squad as well, and a real leader there. So, let's hope they can get it sorted out. And I think that was, for me, a little bit of a step towards it getting sorted out.
I don't need a VPN. I've got nothing to hide. Ha. This is what I used to tell myself before I hooked up with LibertyShield.com. Not only is my home internet now fully encrypted, but I can now access all the websites I want, whenever I want, and do so from absolutely anywhere. As a Liverpool fan, I love to know I can now watch every match, regardless of whether it's on UK TV or not. My Liberty Shield VPN makes sure nothing is blocked and guarantees me super fast streaming speed throughout that match. You can get connected right now with their software package, which includes a 48-hour no-obligation free trial and instant access to their apps for Apple, Android, Fire TV, PC, Mac and Android TV. Or go a step further like I have and get one of their pre-configured VPN routers. These small but powerful devices allow you to easily connect every device in your home to VPN, making it the perfect solution for smart TVs, Mac boxes and games consoles. Visit LibertyShield.com today and use coupon code AIVPN25 to get 25% off at checkout.
Yeah, indeed. And there's a lot of spotlight on Richard Hughes. And it was interesting, some of the stats that were thrown out, because Mo's actually, compared to the last 2 seasons, averaging, and it's early days, more sprints, bigger distance. So, yeah, the physical nature, I'm sure, will be pointing to that and how well he's done pre-season.
The fact he signed Chiesa as well, to me, said that, look, they're thinking about getting more longevity out of Mo Salah. That is a big part of it. So, if that's the theory and the managing his minutes and doing this, it's not just happening for him, but it's happening across the squad. But if that's the plan, is to do that, then surely you're not managing Mo's minutes so he can be fit and fresh for somebody else next season. Surely in Liverpool's mind, thinking, yeah, we could actually extend this guy, and that's a possibility. So hopefully that's the case.
Yeah, fingers crossed, absolutely. And the other one in midfield that we haven't mentioned so far, Dominic Szoboszlai covered every bit of distance, gets a second assist, brilliant all round. But we will have to talk about the miss at the end as well. So, or the non-shot, I suppose you'd call it that. What did you make of Szoboszlai's performance overall?
Yeah, I'm loving him so far in this system. I think the fact he's in that kind of 10 role, but he gets to do a lot of running around as well, and still gets to work hard, but he's got a bit more freedom to sort of use his cuteness of his touch and his ability in tight areas. It really, really does seem to suit him. Or he's almost kind of playing at times as a second centre forward. Certainly in Liverpool's press structure seems kind of 4-2-4 to me at times in the way they're set up. So that seems a really good role for him. He's got sort of everything to thrive there. You would kind of like the one thing you'd probably like to see him take a few more shots on, and especially that one at the end where he doesn't take the shot on, when he should just pass it in. But I think his overall performances have been really, really good, and maybe suits this system a little better than kind of doing a Jordan Henderson impression as he was under Jurgen towards the end. And I did a YouTube video at the start of last season when he thought he started really well and kind of said, "Oh, the new Gerrard," and I maybe got a little bit carried away in that. But I think there's so many qualities there in terms of the shots from distance, the running, the ability to in tight areas, but also his commitment, and he will work hard for you. He's got a lot of those, and his stature as well. Actually, probably worth mentioning. He's got a lot of those qualities, so hopefully in the system he can show them more consistently. And the early signs are good, because I thought, again, yesterday, I thought he was very, very good.
Yeah, so much to like. Just such a good start to the season from so many. I know it's early doors, but it really is, especially yesterday, just amplifying it. And one thing I was thinking, but for you, we saw a million good things. What would you say, though, is the biggest standout or the best thing you could say about yesterday?
I think there is a lot of things. I waxed lyrical about Gravenberch already. Always, to me, that's seemingly the highlight, that he's doing well because he was under so much kind of scrutiny. But I just think that the control that we're seeing, we saw it in pre-season, and I made the point, I think, in pre-season that, yes, these games kind of don't matter, and it is about fitness, but we needed to see the signs that this manager could get this team playing in a certain way. And we saw them very early, and they bled straight into the season. That has just continued. And they are that more, they are showing that slightly more control than we saw in the latter part of Jurgen's reign. He's made every player play as well as they can. Everybody across the squad is playing well. He's managing everyone's minutes. The fitness record, touch wood, has been very good so far. I know it's 3 games in. It seems mad to say it, but the fact they've only got 1 injury at the moment, that was unheard of in the last couple of seasons. Right. Even that as a start is very good. And I'm probably cursed it now, and you hope they can continue in that sense. But really, I think it's worth noting. So that there's just so many of these positives that we're seeing so far. You don't want to get carried away when it's so early. But at the end of the day, supporters should be allowed to get carried away, actually. And the fact is, it's probably gone better than I expected. And when that happens, you should probably get excited about what's to come. And big test in terms of when it goes to more games to come. That rotation has to happen through there, and how he manages the fitness around that and the rotation and changes the squad up. But really, really encouraged by what we've seen so far. And I thought everything that was good about Liverpool thus far this season was seen in the game yesterday.
Yeah, you can't be unhappy when you go to Old Trafford, keep a clean sheet and score 3 goals. And probably should have been more, truth be told, and well deserved. So much to like. And we'll talk briefly about the transfer window, because I think everyone's got it out of the system and the rage, I think, anyway now. So there were no incomings on the final day. However, Liverpool did have an incoming for the first team in the form of Chiesa, so a total deal that could go up to 12.5 million, which seems absolute buttons in today's market. Are you hopeful that he can have an impact this season, even if it is said as a rotational option for Salah, or possibly more?
I think there's a lot of gains for him there. I think initially, maybe these first few weeks, we're going to see him coming in as the sub for Salah around 70. I think that's going to be his way into the team and how we first kind of see him. Because Liverpool are very big on the fact that he's a right foot who can play on that side. He said it's like, people have spoken to, he said that's kind of, not something you see an awful lot, but it's something that really appealed to them. But they also love his versatility, the fact he can play left, right and central. So the fact he is that versatile, there's going to be a lot of minutes for him. He can be that kind of Jota type and feature all across the front line. And when you've got, two extra Champions League games, Liverpool want to go deep, cups, there's plenty of games there. And the fact that you don't have to use Elliott now as the person who comes in on the right-hand side, and it's someone of the quality of Chiesa, and someone who looks so overjoyed to be there. Someone who Liverpool have liked for a long time. He's got such quality as well, work rate, everything you want. I think that's on paper, an exciting signing. Obviously, the proof will be on the pitch, and you shouldn't get into kind of rating signings or saying what how good it'll be or otherwise until he shows he can consistently stay fit, and contribute regularly. But in theory, I think a smart signing and a good one, and really excited to see him on the pitch after the international break.
Yeah, absolutely. Fingers crossed he can have a real impact. And I suppose international break, in a good way, he's not been called up for Italy, and he obviously arrived a few days before the end of September, and he'll have it's got to be a good thing, hasn't it, surely, that he will get with Ruben Peters and start being worked hard and getting ready to play and have an impact.
Yeah, that break's going to be handy for him. Just getting used to like the tactical concepts as well and how Liverpool work under Arne Slot. So he's going to have time to do that. And I'm sure he'll graft it because I keep coming back to the fact that he just seems like he's absolutely buzzing about being at Liverpool. So I'm sure he's really going to throw himself into that. I thought it was really nice actually. He was at Old Trafford to watch the game.
Yeah,
to do that, but he bothered to go out and watch his teammates, which I thought was really, really good sign about where his head's at and how much he's into this. So yeah, I think this break will be good for him in terms of getting that fitness up because he won't quite be there in terms of that either because he hasn't had a lot of training with Juventus and not been around their first team either. So yeah, look, 2 weeks now to get his sharpness up and then hopefully he can then start to prove why he should be immediately back into the Italy squad and by putting together good performances for Liverpool.
Yeah, you'll definitely have games coming up, 7 in 22 days in September as it stands. So yeah, plenty to get stuck into. And outgoings wise, there's quite a few on deadline day. It tended to be loans, didn't it? Be it Nat Phillips, Peter Luger, and the two youngsters in Cade Gordon and Ben Doak. I know it's not always the most attractive, but the outgoing side, do you think Liverpool have done good outgoing business?
Oh, without doubt. I think the ones to focus on are Carvalho and Vandenberg in the sense that there's no way that they'd have played minutes this season for Liverpool, really, or especially Carvalho, but Vandenberg. The hope is that Liverpool aren't always wrecked by injuries, so they don't need a fifth choice centre half. So, to get basically 25 million each or something in that region for both of them, it's just sensational. The Vandenberg one, it just is ridiculous, really, because I just didn't think they would get that much. And so it's a really, really good deal that they've struck there. They've done really, really well out of that one. And made some big decisions as well in terms of the youngsters, haven't they? Obviously, Bobby Clark going. They clearly don't think that in the next 12 months he's going to be ready to be a first teamer for Liverpool. And with the depth they've got in those kind of 8 positions, you can get that. So selling now and get the money and reinvest that in the squad. And so I don't think they're worried that they'll be proven wrong on that one. And then the loans, I thought Slot's quotes on Bajcetic were really interesting in that, this isn't a write-off for him. This is a case of, look, we need to get him fit, and he probably wouldn't get sufficient minutes here to sort of get him back up to his sharpness. So I'm really hopeful they're not writing him off because I was quite excited by his potential. But they made a judgment call that he needs the minutes, and he'll definitely get them at Salzburg, and working with a coach who we know is brilliant as well. So excited to see what he can do out there. And I think the loan moves, I thought the sales, the proof will come in the next sort of 12 months, won't it? And whether they've made a mistake with the sales or whether some of the loanees should have been kept around. But I think Liverpool will be confident, and I think they'll probably be right in the decisions that they did make.
It will be interesting, and it'll probably be remiss of me not to ask you, because the reactions tended to be now the window's shut. There was even talk on deadline day. There was people, the lights still were on at the AXA as well. What are your overall thoughts? Because on the pitch at the moment, it all looks brilliant, but the only niggling concern is people have got, we didn't get the left-sided defender, we didn't get the 6. Do you see it that way, or are you thinking it could be okay?
Well, for me, and this is just my personal opinion, people might disagree. I wasn't huge on the left-sided defender thing if Liverpool didn't lose a left-back, or wasn't huge on a centre-half if Liverpool didn't lose a centre-back. I always will say, Liverpool don't need 3 left-backs and they don't need 5 centre-halves. Stop getting injuries all the time. Please just stop doing that, and then your depth will look better, because it's ridiculous that they keep getting all these injuries. So, do something about that, and then you don't suddenly need to stockpile players in this way. So for me, the one position that I thought this will really change things, it will completely move the needle, is if they'd have got the number 6. Now, obviously, I was wrong about that because Gravenberch has turned out to be better than Tchouaméni in the end. But I thought the reality was that, I still think that's something Liverpool will look to in future windows. I still think it's an area they clearly feel they need to strengthen, and I think everyone would agree with that. So that is disappointing to have not got that. But also, I think it's interesting. I saw a tweet from a United fan earlier where he said, look at the difference between Slot and Ten Hag, and Ten Hag spent this, and Liverpool have had, Slot's got them playing in this way when Liverpool had a disappointing window. Yeah. So you used the phrase disappointing window. Now, for me, I think that number 6 element is disappointing, but to say disappointing window, I think is an interesting way of phrasing it, and I disagree with it, because what would have been disappointing or hugely disappointing, and really would have makes for a poor window rather than one where you think, oh, that would have been nice. is if Liverpool had gone, well, I'll tell you what, actually, we can't get Zubimendi, let's go and sign Ugarte. And then they realise after 3 months that he can't pass the ball the way that they need to. So that's how you bake in a disappointing window, is by going, we need X, Y, and Z in these positions, and regardless how far down the list we have to go, we will get someone in. That's how you kill yourselves. That's how you make your team worse, by signing players. And that is something Liverpool, maybe they are too picky. I'm not a recruitment expert to know, who would have been a great alternative to Zubimendi. But the fact that they are picky about these things means that they don't lock themselves into players who are clearly poor. I mean, look at, maybe I was frisky writing them off already, but I looked at Xerxes playing for United yesterday and I thought, you've added someone in the position you felt you needed, and he's terrible. And so Liverpool don't want to do that. So, characterising it as a disappointing window for me for Liverpool is they kept a lot of the depth that maybe wasn't expected to be kept, like Joe Gomez. They didn't have to swap him for someone who they then had to bed in. Left back, hopefully Andy Robertson can have a better season where he avoids injury. I still think Tsimikas is a great backup and proved that at times last season as well. So I didn't think they needed to do that. I just think there's that element of the number 6 is still going to be an issue going forward. They still want to add there, but not signing the right numbers, not signing the wrong number 6 is something that also you should think has got value and is important as well. And if Liverpool have to wait 6 months or maybe a year and then get the right one and it proves worthwhile, then there is value in that. And we shouldn't kind of forget that, because if United are convincing themselves they've had a good window because they've added players, but they're all terrible, then that shows you kind of what the dichotomy and what you want to avoid going forward. That was a very hard answer, really, isn't it?
No, full context. I think it is important, though, because time will tell. And I think it's no secret. Everyone wanted a 6. The club clearly wanted a 6 because Zubimendi was approached. They tried to do that. It's no secret. But I suppose it all defines it if you feel Liverpool are too risk-adverse in the way they approach it, or are they right to wait and sort of keep the powder dry until the right one, or one that's suitable they feel is available, isn't it?
Especially if Gravenberch keeps playing the way he is and Liverpool can get to January and they feel there's an option then, whether that be Zubimendi, who hasn't signed a new contract yet, by the way, or someone else that they've identified in that time, then absolutely perfect. And then everyone will say, well, do you know what? Actually, that was the right decision to wait, particularly because Gravenberch is playing as well as he is. And I think it said, at the end of the day, they might say, well, we couldn't have got someone else in who was performing to that level. We just thought that Zubimendi might add a little bit extra on top of that.
Yeah.
But what Gravenberch is doing at the moment is certainly good enough for us to wait till January or maybe even the following summer. So, and hard to argue with that on his performances so far. We will see how that continues. But like I say, not going into a market signing bad players is got real value for a club like Liverpool. So, it's very tough to kind of mark the window and say what your overall feeling is on it, because the proof is always in the pudding, and let's see how that works going forward. But it is important not to just sign anyone.
True. And interestingly enough, the top 3 from last season all made a profit in this summer's transfer window, which is unusual, but maybe that's the lay of the land. And Arne Slot, we've got to talk about Arne Slot. He really has earned his own place on the agenda. I mean, it's a strong word. Is this a perfect start for Arne Slot so far?
Hey guys, it's Eddie Gibbs from Anfield Index here. I hope you're enjoying this podcast, and I'm sorry to call time on the show before it ends. In the current climate, it's tougher than ever before to offer podcasts for free. At Anfield Index, we produce over 75 free shows every month, which I'm confident is unparalleled in the LFC sphere. Whilst we'd love to offer everything for free, the production costs now make this impossible. That said, we don't want to follow the model of other channels and lock all of our content behind a paywall. So what we've decided to do is to continue offering every show for free, but cut that offering to 30 minutes on our longer shows. So to get all of our shows in full and enjoy the best of everything we have to offer, we really hope you'll consider supporting the channel and signing up at AnfieldIndexPro.com. For about the price of 1 cup of coffee, you'll get every podcast in full with 0 ads. You'll also get access to our LFC VIP community, where you can enjoy live podcasts, engage with our podcasters, and chat with other Reds in real time. So that website again, AnfieldIndexPro.com. Join today.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.